Hello everyone, welcome back to Sporty Spotlight. It has been a while, but the dust has settled a bit now on GCSEs. They're finally over. And I'm coming from you to today, not from the living room. We finally got out of there. We are at the wonderful state-of-the-art football development centre in Norwich, more commonly known as FDC. And today, I would like to go off. Today, we have got a very, very special guest. This young man has frankly made what many would view as impossible, effortless, to be honest. It is with immense pleasure that I welcome to the podcast, Ajay Tavares.
Yes, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you doing, mate?
I'm wonderful, actually.
Great. So we might as well just get straight into it. First of all, when did you first start playing?
So I first started playing football when I was 8 years old, but fully got into academy around the age of 12.
Nice. And so who would you say was the biggest inspirational player that you've watched growing up?
The biggest inspirational player would probably be, I think, Ronaldo. From when I was very young, it'd definitely be Ronaldo, just because of his mentality-wise.
Yeah. Nice. And I guess was Real Madrid one of the teams that you watched quite regularly when you were younger, or was it Juventus? Like what?
I'd say it was. Yeah, I'd say it was probably Real Madrid. Obviously, when he was there, I would have been obviously a bit older, around the age of 9 and 10. Watching Ronaldo, he would have been around Real Madrid. But yeah.
Great. And of course, this year has been quite a big year for all 16-year-olds. You've just been doing your GCSEs as well. So how have you found balancing playing at such a high level with what is like one of the biggest academic years of British school kids' life?
I think obviously it was hard. I'd say at the start it was not too hard because I was at Norwich. There was some days where I was doing like day release where I would leave school, and Norwich helped with my education a lot. But then obviously it came to my last ever mocks, and I moved to Barcelona, and it was a bit hard to deal with during the move because obviously I was happy, I'm moving, all this kind of stuff, and I'm now going to a new club, all this kind of stuff. But then the GCSEs are there as well. But also Barcelona helped me obviously to get through it, and obviously I did over there IGCSEs, which is international GCSEs. Like it was the same question, but it was just shortened, and actually it was a bit easier for me, and I managed to deal with it. So
fair enough. Well done then. Congratulations. Yeah, it's I feel like mocks are just so important now. I mean, looking back on it, because like they just gave us the foundation, like learning like what sort of questions are going to come up, and that's what past pace for as well. Anyway, before we get on to like the general like football questions, I've got like one. This is for all the Norwich residents here. How does living in Barcelona compare to living in Norwich? I mean, do they have their own Norfolk show over there?
No, they don't have Norfolk show over there. I think they have even better over there, I'll be honest. Of course, but the weather, I think the main two things I've said when people ask me is the weather and the food. Over there is very good.
Yeah.
Very top level. But yeah, I'm enjoying it over there. A lot of activities to do out there as well.
Yeah, well, I think we're actually going on holiday to Barcelona this year. So,
Really?
yeah,
Honestly,
looking forward to it. Should be great. And yeah, first of all, I just also like to say a massive thank you to the folk at the FTC for letting us in here. That backdrop is fantastic, by the way.
Yeah.
Calvin Phillips and Carl Walker staring at us.
Yeah.
Love it. So before we get on to like the stuff about Norwich and Barcelona, I'd like to take you all the way back to your days at the massive Aylsham FC.
Yeah.
So yeah, how much of your success would you say you owe to the folks at that club?
I'd say I owe a lot of success to them. Obviously, a big shout out to actually a lady called Elisa. She actually was the one who obviously invited me along one time as my dad's friend, and her husband is best friends with my dad. And she basically got me, like, we just were around the house one day, and she said, she was working at the club at the time, she just said, maybe you should come along one time, just go. And imagine the first training session, I was wearing a Nike jumper, some tracky bottoms and some boots, and I was just there, just enjoying it. And then it got into like deep moments where I realized that I was genuinely like talented already and I was good at the sport. So I went further into the season and I started playing there. And then obviously a huge a huge thanks to Simon, who was my coach throughout my whole Alsham years, who originally first got me the first call up for a trial with Norwich Academy. He was obviously, he saw the talent, and I think he always used to tell me and just tell me how good I was. So it would give you the confidence to do things that I wouldn't normally do. I wish there was recordings of how I played in that season, because genuinely, the way my dad has described me and stuff, I can't remember too much, but the way they've described me is unbelievable. So,
Yeah. Well, Lisa, if you're watching this, that one's for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, of course, like, you know, you're exceptional at sports, but if you weren't a sportsman, what do you think you would be?
No, that's a good question. I think, I wanted to get into acting.
Hey.
I don't know, I wanted to, because I did pick drum for GCSEs, but I had to cut it because there was too much homework and I couldn't balance it. But I did, I used drama as a thing to gain my confidence in front of people. So I think I'd probably maybe become an actor, maybe even a dancer. I don't know.
Fair enough. Well, they do go hand in hand more than a lot of people might think, to be honest. Yeah. So, other than a bit of a special shout out to our good friend Hayden Beards, of course, other than him, who would you say is the best player you have played with / against at both Norwich and Barcelona? Because you're amongst so much talent and
yes, a lot. I'd say, so for Norwich, I'd say best player I played with, I'd say it could either be a man called Forsen pre-season, or it could have been Khalil from the under-18s. When I was playing with him, he was a top player. If I was to say against, I'd say I actually don't know his name. Maybe he'll see this, but he played for Reading. It was one game I played with 18s, and I think he might be my age, but we played 18s. And we both started, and he was genuinely he was one of those right backs you don't like to play against. I'm not gonna say what he does, because then people will know, and then people know what to do to me. But he was just one of those right backs you just don't like to play against. But he was very top that game, and it was very hard, I'll be honest. So then if we move to Barca though, I'd say the best player I've been playing with is a guy called Goran. He is a very good midfielder. He's very composed on the ball. He knows what to do. He knows the right decisions and all that kind of stuff. But against, I couldn't really say, as I didn't really get enough, obviously, because I got a broken wrist. I didn't really get enough show time to be able to name a player against. But yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, of course, we'll talk about the injuries as over the last year or so.
Yeah.
But that was really fantastic answer. I was looking forward to. I told you about that question in advance. I was looking forward to the answer there. So let's go on to, of course, that pre-season last year where you got to play with Michael Forsen, of course. So how did that come about? And well, Norwich fans will say what they like about Liam Manning, but putting all of that aside, of course, how did that come about? What did he say to you? And how did it come about getting you on board with that pre-season camp?
So this is actually a weird one as well, because, I actually got told that obviously I was invited to pre-season camp. They were looking to get me on there with the help of the under-18 coaches and the academy manager. And he said to me, the academy manager told me that Liam Manning actually said, what's a 15-year-old doing coming on pre-season tour? I don't know if that was a joke. Maybe it was. Maybe he didn't say something like that. But it was just a weird one. And obviously, as I've been invited to the camp, I'm just very excited for the experience I'm about to get. And it came along pretty quickly. And I remember him saying, I think it might have been, I don't know if it was before the game or after the game, I actually can't remember. But he spoke to me at a table and he just said, you might have watched me train, and he just said, just don't lose the hunger and the fight that you have. Because he said, I don't care what age you are. If you're good enough, you'll play. And I think that stuck with me. That stuck with me a lot. But yeah.
Yeah, I do wish him all the best. Of course, those are great words. I wish we'd seen more of that side of him in the press conferences that he did.
Yeah.
And was that pre-season around the time when you were first scouted by Barca?
No. Barca was never in the conversation by this time. No, I think no clubs were in the conversation by this time, actually.
Fair enough. Let's go back to, I think it was the 11th, or I can't remember what day it was in January, but Walsall at home in the FA Cup, of course. We all hoped that you would make that debut, of course. You replied to that story I made about you, but then you told me that you got injured in the first team training session and then you weren't able to play. How frustrating was that? Because it was so close.
It was very frustrating. Actually, I was talking with my friends that I came along with about this Walsall game because I honestly got told that maybe there's a chance I could play in this FA Cup game and I could either like make some sort of history, and I was very happy, excited. And then I come in to train with the 18s, and then I get told you're training with the first team. So I go to train with the first team on Monday, and it was a light session because they played the day before, I think. So it was the players that didn't get much minutes, and I trained with them, and training session was going well. It wasn't like nothing too difficult for me. I was getting along with it pretty well, making me feel welcome. And I've got in and doing my thing, doing everything right. And then we go to it's like a mini game, and we're just sorting out like the positions and stuff like that, the tactics. And obviously, the ball's been like, it's a bad pass, it's come to me, and I've taken a touch, and it's gone forward. I've run towards it, I've done like a skill pass to like Jack Stacey. And then I'm running, and as I run down line, I go to cross the ball. And as I cross the ball, like something in my groin, I don't know, just clicked or something. And then I started limping, and then they took me out. And then from there, I knew it wasn't gonna happen. But it was very frustrating because it was like the groin. I've had this thing for a very long time. Like not a long time, but it seems to be my adductors. I seem to be very weak. But now they're obviously up to date now. But yeah, it was a bit frustrating as I was about to make history.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there have been so many young players in that who have, I think just made their names in the FA Cup. I mean, I think Chris Rigg at Sunderland made his name there.
15.
Yeah, he was 15. Fulham, I think it was. His loud goal. But yeah, unfortunately, that's not the reason that we, as Norwich fans, remember that day. The reason we remember that is because that's the day that the world found out that Josh Sargent went rogue, should I say. And that's when he started forcing his move to Toronto. Now, I can imagine that Sarge was a massive role model to you, not only you lads in the academy, but also to everyone else in that first team dressing room. So, like, as one of the most biggest prodigies in the academy, of course, how did you take that news, knowing that such an influential figure had done something like that?
Well, to be honest, I'd say obviously there's always a reason for something. Obviously, you never know what's actually going through someone's head, but he might have had a very good reason, obviously. But this reason he couldn't actually say. But obviously, in this like this football life is very hard when it comes to this kind of stuff and moving clubs. So all I can say is that you just actually don't know what was going through his head at this time when moving. He might have wanted something different. Maybe he was acting in a certain way because of something that's happened. You just never know. So there's nothing I really can say much about him. But yeah.
Of course, fair enough. I mean, there were those. I mean, of course, Toronto is 2 hours away from where his family is, and family always comes first.
Yeah, true. I didn't even know that was you.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I guess you could sort of relate it to the Jeremy Doku situation from a couple of days ago.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Seeing the birth of your first child is the biggest assist anyone can make in their entire lives.
Literally. And if I can add to that as well, I actually saw a comment. I think something happened like that in the Euros with Phil Foden, but nothing was said. He was actually praised for what he done, but for some reason, Doku has done exactly the same during the World Cup, but he's not getting praise, he's getting the opposite of praise. So I don't know what's going on there.
No, I think it's very good that you bring that up, to be honest. Yeah. That should be happening all. Moving on to, of course, making the leap from Norwich Academy to La Masia. So, first of all, like the first question, of course, a lot of people regard Colney as one of the, the best training facilities in the country. So how do I can imagine that the ones at Barca are really solid as well. So how do they compare?
You know what? Like, obviously, the training ground is massive, like, massive, a lot more space than Norwich, of course. Facilities wise, obviously, Barcelona is very good, but also Norwich is very good as well. I wouldn't say that there's a difference. Obviously, you can see the difference, but there's not too much of a difference. Like, Norwich, there's quality, and Barca is very big as well, but also has quality. But there's obviously a lot to do. There's just a lot to do there. You can use the pitch obviously whenever you want, especially living at the accommodation. I can just go out there whenever I want. So good, you know.
Yeah. And of course, La Masia is one of the most prestigious footballing academies in Europe and the world. And it's produced the likes of Leo Messi, who is still, in my opinion, one of the best in the world, to be honest, and Lamine Yamal, of course, who's got the world at his feet, of course. So how demanding is it being part of, being in that bracket amongst such immense talent all around you? Would you say you manage the competition well?
I'd say it is like now I've moved. I think this next season it has to be full on. If I want to get to the position where I want to get to, and I'm aiming big, then I need to really focus on this season. Really start doing things that I wasn't doing last season, stuff like that. Because it's very hard. The competition here is like the competition is so hard that you don't know who's going to be on the bench. That's how good the players are. You don't know who's going to be on the bench. You can never have a guess. Like obviously, like Lamine Yamal is a very like it feels good to come now. Hopefully, I will go for an academy that Lamine Yamal played through. Also, Messi because like they're top players now. And if I was to hopefully become like one of them, then it would be a dream, of course, to be playing in the competitions they're playing in. But I think, like I said, just to try and compete with others, I've just got to stay focused completely and stay driven on what I want, and that's it.
Of course, yeah, and probably like the last one that's on like the main club one is, even though we will get back into that, academy football, like any pathway, like drama, like we were mentioning earlier, it's cutthroat and it can be incredibly unforgiving. Of course, I hear stories about academy players being dropped all the time. You managed to break through though. So do you have any advice that you'd maybe give to young players who aspire for the same heights that you do?
I think the normal advice that everyone would get is obviously just work hard. But I think you need to have a certain drive in yourself if you want to get to the place you want to get to. Like you have to have I think what I've been told by my uncle a lot of times is you need to have the need for football, not the want. Because if you want to obviously get out to a position you want to get to, then you have to have the need for it, not the want.
Yes, of course, you're absolutely right. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's just a case of there are so many kids in Brazil. The reason why Brazil produces such raw talent is because kids need to get out of poverty.
Yeah, exactly.
You're absolutely right. So moving into the international sector, you of course are part of the youth system with England, and I think it's a shame. Everyone talks about Max Dalman, Rio, and Gumoa. I don't hear as much about Ajay Tavares in there as we'd like, of course, which is frustrating. But how is it competing amongst the likes of those two, because they're unbelievable as they've proven themselves with Arsenal and Liverpool respectively?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're in, I think, bigger stages than me at this point. Obviously, he got called up to the squad, like a 55-man squad with England, scored a goal. But not even just a goal, like his performance, man of the match. Like, you can obviously, of course, you hear about him. He deserves. It's deserved what he's getting. He's a very humble player as well. My dad has told me he's met him before. And he deserves a spotlight, I think. And also, when he goes to Max Almond, he's younger than me, obviously by a couple of days, but he deserves as well. He's playing first team football in the Premier League, shining, scored a goal, and it's like, of course, these names they're going to be handled and they need to be handled because at this age and you're doing what you're doing is top level. And obviously, maybe hopefully one day I will get this chance and the spotlight will shine on me as well.
Yeah,
I hope you get.
I'm sure it will. I'm absolutely certain it will. So, in terms of, I was looking forward to asking you about how England are currently getting on in the World Cup. That was until last night. Yeah, England 0, Ghana 0. That was really toothless, really lackluster, especially when you compare it to what we saw against Croatia. So, what do you think went wrong, and why do you think England was seemingly just unable to break down the low block that Ghana was sitting in so comfortably?
I think, obviously, I don't want to be saying anything. We don't want to keep boxing number, of course. But I just want to say that I think maybe the squad maybe. No, not even the squad. Like, I don't know. It's a good squad. Good first 11 he's put out. I don't know. Maybe just some decisions during the game, substitutions. Like maybe needs to happen a bit earlier on to try something new to maybe see if they can break down the low block. But it is what it is. Obviously, he knows what he's doing. Thomas knows what he's doing, and hopefully he'll bring it home for us this year.
Well, I heard Matt Pincus post, and I remember actually you getting a post from him. I think Papa Pincus.
Oh
yeah,
God, yeah.
He did say this morning. Every team that wins a tournament has that off game they won't forget about.
Yeah.
Hopefully that was last night.
Hopefully.
And of course, you hold a Portuguese passport, which was one of the catalysts for your move to Barcelona. So do you, of course, you said earlier that you watch a lot of Ronaldo. So do you find yourself watching quite a lot of Portugal as well then?
Yeah. Obviously, I try to watch both countries during the World Cup or Euros. And I think I support both of them. But yeah, that's literally it.
Yeah, fair enough. So, of course, Roberto Martinez's approach with the team is, of course, it worked yesterday against Uzbekistan, but it has drawn a lot of questions, a lot of criticism. Like building the team around Cristiano Ronaldo has been argued that it's sort of, I guess you could say, wasting the talent that they've got in that midfield, who are just unable to be expressive because their whole game plan is to cater goals for Ronaldo, really. So, what do you personally make of an approach like that? Do you think that a team should be built around one guy?
I think in this scenario, I'd say yes, because of how big Ronaldo is, and I think if you were to ask people when they hear the country Portugal, what do they think of? It's like, just kind of Ronaldo's Portugal.
Yeah.
So I think in this scenario, I wouldn't disagree with it. I mean, I wouldn't agree with it. I wouldn't disagree with it. It's one of them ones. But obviously, football is a team sport, so it needs to be evolved around the whole team. But obviously, if it's working, then there's no problem with it, of course.
Of course. Well, hopefully it continues to work like that because, secretly, I think we do want to see Ronaldo get that happy ending. Really, the one that Messi got, I suppose. So now we haven't got too much time left. Let's just get back onto the local Norwich City. So, we have recently confirmed the signings of Bruno Alves on loan from Cruzeiro in Brazil, and we've just got Sam Field on a permanent. Now, of course, there is a lot of expectation for us in this season. Of course, with the team with the playoff places being low down to 8th.
Yeah.
Of course. How do you think that Norwich should and will and frankly should fare in the season if we continue to make shrewd moves in the transfer window and keep on with the philosophy that Philippe Clement is in placing, who spoke very highly of you upon your move to Barca?
I think even last season when I was there, I think Norwich definitely had the team to make playoffs. But I think this season they still have the same team. All the players are fit. They 100% have the team to even win the championship this season. That's what I think, of course. Obviously, I come from Norwich. I wasn't born here, but I come from here. I was born in Great Yarmouth. Same.
Best place on earth.
Yeah, same race. But I 100% believe that with the team that they have, with no injuries, they could easily win the championship this season.
Yeah.
And obviously, Clement is a very, very, very good coach. So
he's
I
fantastic.
wish them all the best in this season.
Of course. And wishing you all the very best as well. Now, just before we finish, I just want to say, at the time of recording this, it's the 24th of June. Tomorrow, fixtures release, of course, and I find out exactly where I'm cycling to on the first away game of next season. This is rough.
That is going to be very long cycling. And what
don't
should
mind
be
it.
some like at Portsmouth or something? Portsmouth, you in the championship?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Portsmouth wouldn't be that bad. I don't want
Portsmouth.
it.
So what's that? Like 7 hours in car?
Yes.
On bike, that's
like that.
No.
It'll take multiple days. I know that for certain. So, but yeah, we're up for it, and yeah, do it for the love of the game, pretty much. So yeah, that will wrap it up there because we're on tight schedules, and I think we've pretty much got through everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, AJ, thank you so much for coming on, pal. That was absolutely fantastic. Wishing you all the very, very best, all the best of success at Barcelona this season, and I really hope that your exploits in the academy eventually catch the eyes of Hansi Flick. I'm sure they will.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you very much for the interview as well.
Of course. So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you have enjoyed. Please do make sure to like and subscribe and follow on Spotify as well. And yeah, we'll see you all again very, very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.